Welcome back to episode 2 with Mr. Louis Q. How do you feel after getting one episode under your belt?
I feel better. I feel a lot more confident. I felt that I was confident in episode 1. I've took a lot of lessons, a lot of learnings, and I'm coming back to episode 2. Maybe not being as cocky as much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Bigger, better, stronger.
Yeah.
Well, we like that energy.
Open, understanding.
Okay.
Understanding is your podcast.
Oh, and not promoting yourself halfway through the episode.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. We're talking about dating, apps, and finding love. I feel like this is probably going to be the episode that people actually want to delve into the most. So if you're single, most definitely episode for you. We're going to weave in a little bit about us, how we met. I feel that I don't know, I don't talk about it anymore, probably because it happened so long ago, but I think that's helpful. And we've got the lovely Laurie in the room who is also single and giving us his experience of apps. So we're going to weave that in as well. Let's start with a quick fire round.
Woo.
Woo, woo, woo. You look warmed up.
Yeah.
But
I need a quick fire round. It helps.
Okay, I've tried to make this one about dating and apps. So let's start there. Apps or no apps?
No apps.
I agree.
I would like to elaborate, but I guess it's a quick fire round. But yeah, go on.
Oh, do you want to elaborate?
No, let's do it later.
Okay, fine. We'll talk about it in the episode. Sexy pics or no sexy pics?
No sexy pics.
I always say in today's world, like, that's coming back to bite you on your bum. Don't do it. How do you want to communicate? Phone call or WhatsApp?
Phone call.
I'm just letting you know that was like my hardest thing when we were dating. One night stand or no one night stands?
No one night stand.
I always talk about energy and sex, and I think it's so intertwined. But anyway, we'll get into it. Would you prefer that they had an interest in music or interest in clothes?
Interest in music, I would prefer.
We're going to get into that. There's so much context behind those questions. Okay, so let's start with story time. It feels appropriate. This is how we start the app. How did we meet? I could tell the story, but I actually genuinely believe that you tell it better.
Thank you.
However, can I ad lib as you tell the story?
Of course.
Okay.
So we met in 2019.
Yeah.
And at the time I was working at a brunch chain, breakfast club. I was doing the weekends there. I was a supervisor, very good terms with the manager. So it didn't really feel like work. It felt a bit more like going on the weekends, have a bit of fun. Very relaxed. If anyone's been into a breakfast club, they like sit down with you at the table, take your order.
Yeah.
That sort of style.
And also I feel like I should add, it was like one of my favourite spots to go grab breakfast.
Okay. So we had a weekend. Was it a Saturday or Sunday?
It was Good Friday.
Oh, it was a Friday.
Yeah.
So I was starting the early shift and we kind of get a rush in the beginning of loads of people wanting pancakes, and there's like usually queues. The rush had died down. So it was around about what time?
I think 1.
Probably, yeah.
That
sounds right.
Oh, I know what time your shift finished. 1 or 2.
Fine. And most of the people had cleared out. So the cafe's pretty much empty, just 1 or 2 customers. And then this beautiful, short, mixed race, lovely, curly hair. The sun was coming in. So you were silhouetted, was stood at the door. I looked straight over at my guy, Dan, who was behind the bar. I said, I'm going to go see her. I said, hey, stay right there, Dan. I'm going to go, let me go do this one. So, and we used to do that, like give each other a little eye across the cafe.
Like, she's mine. That's the one I'm going to go
like,
chat up.
Oh, she's nice.
Oh, okay.
Just like, generally. So I went over, I spoke to you, I said, always ask, like, table for, like, how many do you want? Like, table for 1? But that was also like to check if you had someone coming. If you had said table for 2, my heart would have dropped. But
Shall I insert then like my version of up to that point?
Course.
Okay, so I was like quite new to the area. I'd gone through like loads of change and transition in my life. I was very much in my single era. It was doing bits for me, and really I was in a good space. I'd like changed jobs. I'd just come back from traveling from Brazil. And this was like my era where I'd literally just finished a gym session actually, and I was debating. I feel like this is actually quite important. I was debating, should I go home and cook eggs or should I stop off and go to Breakfast Club? So it was a really, really close call. And I was on the way back from a gym session and I literally was debating because I was like, you don't need to go and spend money. Like you can just cook eggs at home. And I had my laptop because I was going to be a blogger. That was like, I was entering my new era.
Was it a laptop or like an iPad?
Was it an iPad?
I don't know.
Well, the fact that I've never owned anything Apple.
Oh, fine.
Could have been a tablet though. Same. Anyway, and then I decided no, and I'd just moved, so there was no like table to eat at. So I was like, just go to Breakfast Club, get your tablet or your laptop out and start writing your travel blog. So that's where I was at.
So I sat you down and given the usual customer service that I give, I was very warm and kind of just speaking to you informally as we do at the breakfast at where I worked. I don't want to make Breakfast Club known for like the waiters are hitting on everyone.
I do feel like maybe we'll get a free round of pancakes after this.
Maybe.
Breakfast Club, hit us up.
I was being very warm and helpful, and you had said that you'd come from the gym, you wanted something healthy. I was also on just starting like my healthy journey, fitness journey.
Yeah.
Literally just starting. And I was recommending stuff that was on the menu and weren't on the menu. So things that I kind of order for my staff lunch. And then you asked for avocado. And then I said, let me go and check, because avocado you get charged for.
And that's important to insert into the story, because in my head, up until this point, one, you looked young as shit.
I was wearing a Barcelona football t-shirt. I had sunglasses on and a bandana. Yeah. And I think I was wearing like joggers from Primark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And I looked at you and all I thought is that, who's this really young boy? Like, I'm not joking. I did not put you over 19, older than 19. And because you had the glasses on, I couldn't quite see your eyes. And I wasn't quite sure, is he flirting with me or is he not? So then when I asked about that avo, the reason that's a key point of the story is when you're like, I have to go check. I was like, oh, Jesus. Like, he would have just given me the avo for free if he liked me. And I was like, cool.
That's interesting that that's what you thought. Like, yeah, guys like me, they're going to get me something.
Please don't overgeneralize that point. But yeah, it's fair. I think it's a fair point.
Fine. So I went and I said, yeah, can I give an avocado? No, we need to charge for it. So I went back and told you, you got to pay for it if you want it. And you was like, yeah, I'm an older woman, I'm a boss, I can pay. Okay. You didn't say that, but.
You absolute chief, I did not say that.
No, you didn't. But that's what you was like.
No, in my head, that would have proved the point as to why I'm an independent woman that can financially support herself. Yes, you would have had no idea that is what I was thinking.
So I put your order through. Once your order was through, I kind of like left you and then I think your food came. But at that time, like coincidentally, it was like time for me to have my break, my food. And of course, the other members of staff had seen, so my guy Dan, also Jim was in the kitchen as well, had seen me, like, you know, being friendly, talking to you maybe a bit more than I would other customers. And then I just said, I don't know why I had this idea. I just thought we had been conversating. And I thought, you know what, I'm about to go on my break. Instead of me going to sit over a table that's like in the corner, the cafe's empty, by the way. I thought, why don't I just like continue the conversation we're having and like sit next to you? It just seemed logical in my head. So I said to Jim, I said, I'm going to ask her if I can sit and have my food with her. She's on her own. And he was like, yeah, go on then. And I did not think about it. I'm someone, if I think too much about something, then I will just find so many reasons not to do it. So I went, I don't know if I did it straight away. I went over to you and I said, I'm about to put my food through. Would you mind if I sit with you?
You were like, can I take my break with you?
Yes.
And I looked at you and in my head, I was like, hell no. I'm here to be a travel blogger. I'm writing my blog. And it was like the first day I think I'd had to myself in like quite a while. So in my head, I was just like, I'm really going to be a travel blogger. That was honestly what I was so focused on.
You still can be. There's still time.
Yeah, always. There's always time. And then I said, yeah, of course. In my, like, at the time, real people pleasing state. Of course.
I'm just looking at you now thinking like, yeah, I'm so glad you did say that. You said yes. That's literally like the moment. So I put my food through, came and sat with you, and we continued talking, and the conversation was really good. My kind of flirting game was non-existent. What it was is that I would just be very like just curious and ask
Yeah.
questions and just
Yeah.
genuinely be curious. And I would approach it as though I just want to get to know this person more because the conversation was good. And it was with me and you at that time. And then I think we both had finished our food. Time was passing. This is like hours gone by. And I think I went to get up and Dan was like, no, it's all good. Sit down. The cafe's empty. Don't worry. So I don't think you were seeing that. And I think I did it twice. I was like, my break's definitely over. 20 minutes is gone. Like, and he was like, no, sit. So I actually never went back to my shift and we continued talking for like, I think it was 2 hours.
Yeah, I think it ended up being a couple hours. And I remember as well through that whole...
Imagine you had to be somewhere as well. You had like, you had that Friday free.
Yeah, I did. And I remember as well, the conversation being so good because people always ask me now, did you know? And I think like the thing I can say, I've never really been that person of like, I'm going to get married or like the one. I think I'm really realistic. Also the type of job that I do, life goes up and down, like people change. And there's something actually that you've always said to us around the way that we work, which we'll get into in terms of which I think is one of our mantras as a couple, but you've always said it from the beginning. But all I remember in that time, once I kind of got over the fact that this boy must be so young, the fact he's wearing was it a Barcelona? Yeah, Barcelona football
t-shirt. I'm still great.
Honestly, and I was like, and a bandana. I just was like, right, no matter how good his chat is, like the age gap is just a no-go here. Like it just can't work. And anyway, you ended up telling me your age. I don't think I believed you. I'm sure I asked to see your driving license, but the conversation at some point, I definitely, maybe it was the first date I asked for it, but the conversation was honestly, and I still stand by this, probably the best conversation I'd ever had to date, particularly like in a sort of like dating, flirting environment. And we talked about so much in that time. And yeah, I remember saying to you, oh, when's your break over? And you said, oh, my shift finished 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, my whole shift, yeah.
Like the shift was done. And
then
I remember feeling, I don't know if he likes me. I don't know if he's flirting with me, but I definitely know he's going to be in my life. I just wasn't sure if we were going to be friends
yeah.
rather than like a thing. So that's how I left the combo.
Yeah, I think with that sort of stuff when you're meeting someone, for me, I initially found you attractive. That is important.
It's helpful.
Yeah. And I think the second stage is, can we get on in that kind of, in a friendship way? But you then have a choice to take it romantically or not. But I think you do have to have an attraction, and then you also have to have good conversation, which isn't, I'm not talking like getting super deep, but literally the convo can flow. Someone speaks, someone listens.
Yeah.
Someone's actually hearing you. So they're talking back to you what you've just told them. That's important. That's always been important to me.
Can I say thank you for that point? Because that is like 101 on how to communicate well in terms of like listening, asking questions, but you just put it in a way cooler way than I preach about it.
Thank you. Open up with Louis.
Yeah, I was gonna add on that in terms of our conversation and how it flowed, there was moments where we were laughing. There were moments we talked about deep things. There were moments where you were like pretending to, I guess, be my tour guide in terms of I was new to the area.
My whole thing was that let me make sure you have a good experience of the area because people.
I was new.
Yeah,
and I was definitely very sassy in that conversation. I think I gave you quite a hard time, which I do think continued for the first kind of couple months of us dating. Okay.
But yeah, that was it. That's the story, isn't it?
Thank you. I was naturally going to ask you another question. I don't know if it needed that harsh a full stop on it, but okay. This is going to get into episode 3, but I won't touch on it yet. Okay, so that's the point. That's how we met. What healing do you think you had to do before we met?
I think we both coincided because we've always said this. If we had met before the time
Yeah.
we did, we're not sure it would have worked, which I genuinely do believe. So before I met you, I was kind of in a process of self-love, self-understanding,
Mm.
just through breakups, losses, people like passing away. That made me go quite insular, but in a good way, very self-reflective. I traveled quite a bit the years prior to us meeting. And I actually wasn't dating. I wasn't interested in dating for about 2 good years. All I did was travel with my cousins, with my close friends, started getting into the gym more, just elevating myself. Just naturally, I wanted to elevate myself.
Yeah.
Then when I got to a point, and this is after past relationships, which I think is also important because you have to go through initial relationships to understand what you do and do not like, or how you want to show up or not show up.
The only thing I'm going to add there, because this is what you used to say to me as well, and I think it's so useful to hear it from a male perspective as well. You always used to say, I think everyone needs to go through like really severe heartbreak to really understand like what that hurt is like, and also to get really clear on what you do want in a relationship. What are your non-negotiables? What are you willing to tolerate and what are you not? Because there are things that when you do meet someone where you really connect, you end up compromising, and that's okay, because the things you think are important actually aren't, but you'll never know that until you're in a situation. And that's just something I remember you saying to me, that it's important to go through heartbreak.
I think the heartbreak and the kind of lows, they really make you clear on what is important to you. So I think when people go through hardships, it's almost like the building blocks of their morals and character, because it's like, that's how I felt. And say you've lost someone, it's like, I never want to not show love to my friends and family because someone I loved has gone and I wasn't able to share that love with them. So that becomes a foundational core value to you. But that doesn't come unless you've gone through something tough. And if even you look at like teams, if a team's winning all the time, they start to get a bit comfortable. The players are a bit like, oh yeah, we're always winning. And then this is just how it goes. And that doesn't keep you kind of, I don't know, that like your desired, grounded. So in terms of the lessons I had to learn, that was the question.
Yeah.
I would say those were the biggest ones.
We've actually not talked about this for so long, and it's so lovely to listen and hear your perspective. Tough question I'm going to ask is, how did loss change the way that you viewed dating or relationships, like romantically, not so much your friends and family?
So, okay. So this is how I can say it. Losing someone that you know had unconditional love for you means that when you look around at everyone close to you, it's just normal that sometimes people are going to be there, sometimes they're not going to be there. Everyone's got their own thing going on. But when there's someone without a doubt, so I'm talking about like just parents, maybe siblings, like they're your family, you can't change them, and you know they've got unconditional love for you. If that person isn't no longer in your life, whatever you then bring into your life, it is quite high stakes. I'm talking like, this is probably like one of the highest stakes. If I'm bringing someone else into my life, then that love and that quality of what I'm bringing in needs to be like proper, because if I just bring in anyone and we're going through the motions, I don't really have the support that maybe other people still have. Does that answer it?
Yeah, beautifully. Thanks for sharing.
So hopefully it helps someone.
I think I'm in awe. I haven't taken a moment for a while to also hear the way, I think you really grown in the way that you articulate things that are quite tough. So thank you. In our quick fire round, you said no to apps.
Yeah.
Why?
So we was talking with Laurie before we started recording this episode, and I think how long have you gone without an app? 9 months. So that's an intentional thing.
I want to like salute that.
Yeah,
I have
that's
so much to
good.
say on this, but I'm not going to yet.
Because this is the thing. It might sound like, anti-app. No, I think the apps are a great way for people to connect. I was using apps before
I have
we
like
met.
3 of my friends as well that are
Yeah,
married and have
married
met
from
their
apps.
husbands. So I'm also all for them.
So I just think you can become comfortable with the apps, and you get on an app, you connect with someone, the conversation just isn't going anywhere, and that's from both sides. I think the skill of meeting someone and talking to someone and having courage, and it's not everything is against you right now in 2024 in the modern day society, because we've got so much going on. Everyone has their own little pockets of friendship groups. No one really enjoys crossing over as much. You always feel as though you're bothering someone. So sometimes I feel
Go on.
but I honestly think it's the same thing as going to the gym and working a muscle. That communication, or don't look at it as flirting, this sort of like creepy thing. Just think, I'm actually being open to talking to people. That's just anyone. Sit down, talk with like your grandparents or people a lot older than you. Just be open to conversation. And then when you're in settings where it can become romantic, I think then you've got the choice there, because you've worked the muscle of communicating, being open to start a conversation or ask questions that are more thought-provoking instead of being on the app. That's my opinion. So that's why I said no apps, because that's what I had to do. I had to like really work the muscle to be like, all right, let me just go and like talk to this girl, or let me just compliment. I started with compliments. I said, just compliment someone. You see someone out and you like what they're wearing, go and tell them. Like and don't think there needs to be anything else after that. But once you start doing that regularly, then just naturally conversation is going to go, and it will come across more organic, and then people feel that energy, and then you're just having a conversation and you say, you know what, I would like to continue this conversation some more. Shall we exchange like numbers? Then you're flirting basically. But
I'm laughing because I remember you saying, I was just wondering, how do you want to keep in touch?
Yeah.
And I turned around, I feel so sorry for you. I think I was like borderline on rude. And I was like, is that your shitty way of asking for my number? So sassy, the poor guy. I honestly feel like you've given us 101 lessons in those core like ways of communicating when you're in the dating world, and bringing it into like 2024. Because when you said as well, start small, or you just started with complimenting someone, you're building the habit of doing something that you're not used to or you feel uncomfortable with.
Yeah, it's not a given that everyone's gonna be good at that. And I think don't just like practice it with like friends and stuff. And it's a lot of us are naturally bit insular and to ourselves, which I think is also a massive what's the word I'm looking
Strength?
for? Yeah, it's a strength, because you're comfortable in your own company. That's a big strength. Because once you get into a serious relationship, there's going to be moments where it's like you can't be glued to someone as well. So it's all a balance.
I think that's important, because that self-love, I guess, is something I advocate so much, and learning how to enjoy alone time. But then also in today's world, making sure that's not overdone. And then you said as well, becoming insular. Because I would say reflecting and looking inwards is important, but then maybe if you're at the stage of insular and not conversating or not taking your life outside of, because I do feel we've got 2 parallel worlds. We've got your in real life world
and the online,
and your social world or your online world, and the 2 run parallel together. And sometimes as well, this is a tiny bit off topic, but
which they're allowed to run parallel.
Yes, definitely. But then I don't know if we know how they cross over. Because, and I'm going to come back to when Laurie said that he's not been on a dating app for 9 months, and why I think it's an important element wherever you're at in your dating kind of journey. But something that's a bit off piece is I hear people talk a lot around, they might follow people online, or they're at like an event where there's lots of well-known social media people, and they'll be like, they didn't come across like they do online in real life. And I would love for us to be able to like take the critique out of it, because one, how you show up on camera can sometimes be different. You also don't know what that person's navigating internally that day that you met them, and when they're showing up online. And it's different if there's a real disconnect in authenticity.
Yeah.
But and I know that's a little bit left to our conversation, but as you were talking, yes, they can run parallel. There's going to be points where they overlap, and just making sure that we take some of the judgment out of it. Oh, nothing to add.
No.
Oh, okay. The other thing I did want to say, when Laurie said 9 months with no apps, and you saying that before we met, you were in that kind of space of taking time to nurture love in other areas of your life, and not so specifically to apps. I've actually never been on an app, but it was actually because at that time I was too scared in my corporate job that somebody would like swipe whatever way you swipe right, I think. I don't know. I'll wait for the confirmation. You're acting like you don't know. And at that time it wasn't common. Like now it's just a normal way of dating. And I didn't want somebody to like swipe right on me. I don't think as well I'd told anyone I was single. So anyway, that's why I've never used them. But my point is to say, I think it's really good to have some time where you nurture that relationship with yourself and understand how to be alone. And I remember just before I met you, I went on a 6-month self-imposed ban where like no chatting to guys. I kept it to a minimum. Why are you raising your eyebrows like that?
No, you definitely were speaking to guys.
Okay, I reduced it because it was getting to the point where I was just conversating or flirting because I could, and it was without like a positive intention. And I was like, I need to stop because I actually really want space to enjoy my company and nurturing the things of how I spend my time, who I spend it with. And it got to the point where when I say it was too easy, I don't mean in a cocky way, but I mean like without thought and intention behind it. And then post my 6 months, I met you. Okay, what's your view on dating in 2024?
Well, I can't give
your own personal experience.
Yeah, because it's completely changed. I'm not in it, but through friends, I know it isn't easy. It's more of a challenge because, and these are Laurie's words, people expect you within the first 20 minutes to show up in every way. Your career, everything, you need to just show it because that directly mirrors what you see online. When you go on someone's profile, you kind of just see everything and you get such a download of information. That's not true to how it is in person. So no wonder people are like, oh, let me not even bother because I'd rather just go on and, check all their socials and find out more about them that way.
No, I think that's so fair. I know I said this before we started recording, it keeps the mystery going as well. And as humans, because of the way our world works now, we're used to being bombarded with information. But I think it's really mysterious and maybe a little bit sexy to not tell everybody not say everything about you on a first meeting. As in, like, let the conversation grow, build that. I feel like you, maybe not intentionally, but that's definitely how we dated, which was new for me at the time. I was used to.
There does need to be an element of trust, though. Do you know what I mean? If you build through, and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes that's non-verbal.
Oh, go on, tell us more.
So, example, say we're gone on one of our second dates.
Yeah,
I've not shared everything about you, like my family, my previous relationships, or we've not done a massive download, but you may have felt more safe with me because when we crossed the road, I kind of made sure you went through, I don't know, non-verbal things.
Yeah, I like that.
When we've sat down, you've kind of, say we've gone for dinner.
Yeah.
Little things, just being conscious of that. Okay, is this person comfortable? And sometimes that doesn't need to be verbal.
I think that is so valuable because so much of our communication comes through in what's not being said. And I definitely know in the beginning, you always have made me feel safe, definitely. And I think I said this to one of your friends the other day, but this is in context. We were in the middle of a conversation. I said, the one thing you taught me how to do so well, which I know I preach about in the business, like it's one of the core pillars, but you taught me how to be my authentic self. And I'd spent years hiding it, especially dating. I'd mold myself into whoever the guy wanted me to be, which is really breaks my heart now, but you gave me this space to like embrace my heritage, to show up, to and being mixed as well. I feel like I have nuances or different filters or like both sides of
Your
life.
identity is more
Yeah, it was
more chat. There's more to kind of understand around identity when you're mixed.
yeah, one of my clients said this to me. This is a long time ago and it's always stayed with me, and I always quote this client, and they're mixed, so
Yeah. As well as other, if you're like completely,
if you're only one race.
yeah, there's still a lot to
There's
like
always
unpack.
complexities
Yeah.
because you're
And
only
it doesn't just come down to race, but I use the word identity because that does resonate with me.
yeah, and also we're talking about this in the context of us, like we're not
Yeah.
speaking on behalf of everybody else.
You know, just do the disclaimer, like
Yeah.
if anyone's just hating, like, hey, that's not true. I feel like this. That's not. Which is
You know what, you said it and I could see the fear like
yeah.
move through your face, and I was like, he's like, oh my god, we need to caveat that. But I
Don't
understood
get
what
me
we're talking
cancelled,
about.
the mirror.
I'm not about that life. I don't want the episode. I don't want the
good.
podcast.
This is good though.
But the quote that my client said is, it feels like I straddle two worlds and I don't always know how to operate in both of them, being authentic, because I adapt so much. So that's always stayed with me. But that is definitely something that you gave me space to do. And also I had a moment where I definitely had a thought, oh my God, is this too good to be true? And I think given we've all got dating history, we've all got our blueprint, there's always going to be things that we need to work and grow on. But I like when you said as well, creating that space of safety, and nice to hear through a male perspective as well.
Yeah.
When we were dating, how do you think, I don't know if you can identify it, but we got clear on understanding what our values were and whether they did match or not?
Through conversation. I think through when you shared an experience that doesn't have to do anything with like your how you previously dated, but maybe you shared a story with me, something between you and your brother, or how you responded to something that happened with your friend. Through that, I'm understanding how you approach situations, your morals, your values.
You are really reflective as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm someone that I'm like listening.
And you observe a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, what about if somebody's listening and is dating somebody, or is that person that doesn't observe in this way and doesn't reflect and listen in this way?
How do they what?
Well, how can they have these types of conversations? How would they approach it? How could they go about it? Because of being aligned on values.
Yeah, it's quite important.
Yeah, and I don't know if when I met you, I was really thoroughly enjoying my single era, right? I'd finally got to the point where I liked my own company. And that took me so long to get to and to understand. So I don't think when I met you, I was really like, oh, I want to actively, well, I wasn't dating. And I wasn't like, oh, I want to actively date, or I want to get married, or I want to be in a long-term relationship. Like, it was the furthest thing from my head. But even when I was dating you, there was a difference in terms of the people I dated before. So checking that we were aligned on values. Okay, I'm going to give an example.
Yeah.
I remember from that first conversation where we talked about so many things at Breakfast Club. For some reason, I walked away with the impression that your dad was like a pastor or a minister.
Those are the small bits of information that I gave you.
Yeah. So I'd formed this image in my head and I was like, this is never going to work. And I was like, my dad's Muslim, my mum's Catholic. I was like, this is never going to work. His dad's a pastor. I can't believe I thought that. But anyway, and I was like, we're doomed. Nope. And I was like, oh, such a shame because he's such a nice guy. That's what I remember thinking. So like religions, like as in your personal values and then making sure they're aligned and you want the same things. How do you think we did it? You think we did it through conversation?
I just think the willingness to kind of like explore and be curious.
Yeah.
That was it.
And take the judgment. I know I feel like I'm repeating this, but I was just to take the judgment out of it, because going back to that point of apps or presenting all your information at once, I think sometimes in today's world, we're too quick to be like, no, this box is not ticked, or they don't do this, so I can't possibly date them.
But this is the thing. This is what I'm saying. Also, it's a balance. Everything's a bit of a balance, because one of the most important things is like being clear as well on what the kind of person you want. But what I'm saying in terms of the actual dates and when you're with the person and meeting up, I just think try as much as you can to be in the moment and not do the critiquing there.
Yeah.
For some of us, it's natural
Yeah.
that when we come away, we go, but he said that. She said this about that. And yeah, that's what
You are going to analyze and weigh things
which is
up.
fine. But I just think,
Well, no, that's a good example while you're thinking, because
Yeah,
I
go on.
remember when you walked me home, I think after the first date, and you gave me like a light kiss. And I was like, oh, he's not that into me. Because I was like, what? And this is the thing. You taught me so much when we were dating. I can't even put it into an episode right now. So
Yeah.
we're not going to try. But I remember, and also this goes to like my dating history and who I was used to dating, which again is not a story for today. However, you like, yeah. And I was like, what is that? And that's not, by the way, you were a bad kisser. That's not that.
no, I'm not a bad kisser.
Oh, okay, fine. We didn't need to verify. But I remember walking in and being like, oh, he's not that into me at all. And also, I feel like our communication in the beginning was different, which we'll save for the next episode. But
Yeah.
in terms of, I was quite used to, when I was dating people, to like message a lot. And after that first date, you didn't message me for like 3 days. And I actually messaged you first. I was like, this is ridiculous. Who goes after a first date? Laurie's clapping. Oh.
I get it.
I was literally like, what is this?
But I was not in a rush. I felt if something's good, you don't want to rush it.
Which honestly,
I was enjoying
something
getting to
you
know
taught
you.
me.
And we said it while we were dating. Those moments don't come back.
Yeah.
Like, just enjoy the moments for what they are.
Yeah. And I really liked that it was just us in the beginning.
Yeah.
There wasn't a rush to be like, you've got to meet my friends.
No, yeah. I do not think I think as much as you can, get to know each other.
Yeah, because once you open up your world,
Yeah.
you're hoping that you're going to open them up for the long term or the foreseeable. You never get that time back again together. Okay,
And
yeah.
It's your opinion that matters really about the other person.
Yeah, you're the two spending time together.
Yeah.
And yes, we're here for feedback, but ultimately you have to be able to trust your instinct. Okay, this brings me on to, I think, a very beautiful question. When you look back at the way that we dated, or our dating era, what's one of your best memories?
I think having fun and also you being incredibly excited by the things I had planned. I felt as though, because we've come from different worlds, you've worked in corporate and I've kind of gone through more vocational, like the arts.
Yeah.
Things I was coming up ideas for, you was like, wow, yeah, I'd love to go see a show. Like, wow. And for me, it's like, oh, that's what I've always gone and done. So, but seeing you just kind of be like, you're